Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of Flat Out. Hard to believe, really, that we're coming towards the culmination of the flat season. It seems to have gone by very fast. Just yesterday, it seems like we were enjoying the Craven meeting, but here we are with the Dewhurst and the Fillies Mile and the big handicap, the Cesarewitch, over 2 miles, 2.5 furlongs. So much to enjoy over the course of the next few days. And it's all about the 2-year-olds, of course, in the group races and the older horses in the handicaps. Joey and Jack alongside once again. Thanks to the Opulent Thoroughbreds for sponsoring our podcast. Like and subscribe. It does help us out. And, of course, remember to comment with your biggest fancy for Newmarket this weekend. Joey, it's always a very informative few days, isn't it, with all those 2-year-old group races. And this year should be no different with some potential superstars lining up.
Yeah, definitely, Tom. Definitely. I mean, the Dewhurst, I in a promo for it this weekend. Well, for this weekend, I compared it potentially to Frankel with City of Troy. We're on that level of the potential that he could be that good. We really are maybe seeing a superstar on Saturday. Let's just hope he runs. I'm not saying he's going to be Frankel. I'm just suggesting that so far he's shown that sort of like maybe this might be another worldly horse. I don't think that's true in the Fillies Mile. I think that's a much more competitive affair from a punting perspective. So yeah, I think that's one I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into from a betting perspective. But for the Saturday, let's all just hope City of Troy turns up and really puts on a show.
Yeah, and I suppose, Jack, that's the big question, isn't it, at the moment? We've not got decks in just yet at time of recording, and there's a bit of rain around in the air in the forecast. So a lot depends on that with City of Troy's participation, but hopefully he will turn up.
I'm fairly sure he will, Tom, yeah. As we mentioned, there is a bit of rain about, but surely they have to go here. Really haven't missed his last target. We were just talking there before we came on about how Doncaster, Joey mentioned, could be an option, but you're playing a risky game there, can come up very testing, as we saw last year. So I'd be fairly sure they're going to roll the dice and run here regardless, unless it came up obviously soft heavy, but that's just not going to happen with 48 hours to the race. Just looking at the forecast here for Newmarket, on the one I'm looking at, 7-8 mils on Friday. So it depends how much of that hits. Of course, we know Newmarket, that peat ground, it dries out quite well and takes the rain. So I'm not expecting it to be any worse than really good to soft, to be honest.
I would jump in there, say the site I'm looking at here has it down at 24 mils. So, I mean, it's uncertain. There's lots of wind around, thunderstorms. I mean, it could get very, very little at all. It could get even worse than 24 mils. I think it's pretty uncertain at this stage what's coming on Friday. But yeah, we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's a waiting game, isn't it? Let's kick off then with Friday's action. And the biggest race of the afternoon is the Bet365 Fillies Mile, Group 1 for 2-year-old fillies. And yeah, as Joey said, there's a cracking race in store. Shawari is currently the favourite, around about 7-4, 15-8. Yalang for Ryan Moore, Ed O'Brien next in. And then Classical Song for Ross Ryan and Rafe Beckett's. Caught You Looking, See the Fire, Seaward, Brilliant, Ambient, Amigo. And that is the field as it stands for Friday's Bet365 Fillies Mile. And Jack, I know that you like the favourite.
Yes, Tom, very, very strong on her, as viewers and yourselves would remember last week. I put her up for the Guineas. I'm delighted the likes of Opera Singer and Fallen Angel, who I expected to run here, don't run in opposition. She has the beating of Alang, and yeah, my confidence has only grown over the last 6-7 days on her chances. As I mentioned, Newmarket, the last day over 7, she kind of forfeited a bit of an advantage early on, and it was just too much to reel in, but her sectionals were exceptional. I don't think it really matters too much for her for the ground, and I just see her a class above these. I really do. I think she's a really special filly.
Yeah, and I'm totally in agreement with you, to be honest, Jack. I thought, she was super impressive despite finishing second in the Rockvale last time. I think she's absolutely the one to beat Shawari. It'll be great for Ollie Sangster to get a Group 1 winner in his first season training. That'd be some achievement. You mentioned those sectionals there, Jack. I just wanted to delve into that a little bit deeper. And if anyone who watched that race, you can't help but think Shawari was a bit of an unlucky loser, despite the fact Carla's Way was a fairly emphatic winner. She had the race very much run to suit, whereas Shawari certainly didn't. In the 5th and 6th furlongs, those are the ones I wanted to highlight. We have Carla's Way, 11.32. Yalang ran 11.29, 11.39 for Spiritual. Zenjabila was 11.04. and Carolina Reaper 11.17, whereas Shawari ran 10.97. So she was the only one in furlong 5 to get below 11 seconds. And in the 6th furlong, it was even more marked. She hit 10.89, and Carla's Way ran the second quickest at 11.04. So there's a marked difference there. And you could tell that really with the way that she ran through the race, and particularly with the way she beat off Ylang Ylang. Ylang Ylang sectionals aren't up to the same level as Shawari's were that day. And considering the race all went wrong for her, I think, this is the time that she can get back on track. And I think this mile trip is going to be perfect for Shawari. Everything that I've seen from this filly suggests to me that she's a proper Group 1 filly. And this, for me, looks a race for the taking, to be honest, with the Ylang Ylang. Yeah, they're in second place in the betting. Obviously, there are some more unexposed fillies in the lineup, but they've got to, for me, Joey, at least improve to get to the level that Shawari's already shown.
Yes and no. I think, yeah, you're dead right that she ran some really, really impressive sectionals. She showed some real speed, didn't she, that day? What does she have against her? Well, she has the fact that if she does exactly the same again, you could see a similar result again, to me. Like if she gets so far back again, and obviously you're hoping that she won't do that, but she's shown a lot of pace, and I just foresee potentially a scenario where the conditions, as I say, throughout the day, there's potential for a lot of rain on the day. It could turn into quite a mucky affair. You've obviously got the dip there too, and I could just see something. One of the two Irish horses actually that I'm looking at, well, they share the same form. They finished 1st and 3rd at the Curragh, and that's Caught You Looking, and Brilliant. And especially Brilliant's the one I do actually quite like, even though she finished behind Caught You Looking that day. I just feel that this could be the day where it's really horrible conditions. The ground's gone a bit mucky. It's windy on the Rolly Mile, and something on the front end, like Brilliant, can get away, and we get a shock result. And something like Shawari just gets lost in the horrible conditions, doesn't fancy it in the day. It's a classic sort of thing that happens in fillies races. And if we actually delve into the numbers of those races, so if you look at the Curragh race, their time figures that have been put up are broadly similar, actually. They're exactly the same. They've got Caught You Looking and Shawari running exactly the same time figure. So I just think that the prices, I'm more than happy to take Shawari on. I just think there's enough negatives against her. With these inexperienced fillies, I think it's more than possible at this time of the year you get some freak result. And I think that race is just being a little bit underestimated by the market. And I think Timeform definitely suggests that it is, with the way that they've rated it. And so yeah, I'm gonna chance these two. I'm gonna recommend Dutch in the two of them, splitting the stakes between the two. Caught You Looking and Brilliant. Those are the two I quite fancy for the Fillies Mile on Friday, Tom. Nothing against Shawari. At the prices, I think this, although there are horses I think are more likely of winning at the weekend, I think this is the biggest value play that I could come up with. So yeah, this is what I'm sticking with.
No, I think you make a really good argument, to be honest, Joe. I have to say, talk some proper sense there. Are you going with those two as your best bets, or Caught You Looking as a singular outright best bet, or what's the plan?
No, I'm suggesting just splitting your stake, basically. Your best bets, my best bet stake, which is actually a point. It's going to be a point on each one, essentially. So that's what it's an 8-runner race with potential of really horrible weather. And so obviously you're looking at it, go, oh yeah, why don't you stick one of these up each way? Well, if there's still 8 in it on the morning and the exchange market's up, and you take a slightly smaller price each way on the exchange market, then do that, because then you're going to get guaranteed your 3 places. But if the scenario that I'm envisaging, where potentially the ground has turned a bit, and you want to play each way, there's every chance there's going to be non-runners in this race, and that means that then your each way places are gone if you've taken the 3 places with bookmaker, and your exchange places, remind everyone, will stay the same if there are non-runners. So that if you got in the morning and there's still 8 in there, and there's 8 in there, then you go on the exchange, and I'd suggest that each way. But for now, 1 point on each, please.
Okay, nice one. I'm going to take you on, actually, with Shawari as my best bet for the weekend, for all the reasons I highlighted just a few moments ago. Although I would be concerned, as Joey said, if there was a lot of rain. I don't think Shawari wants that, but fingers crossed there won't be.
But she has done all right on soft ground before. I think it's soft at Sandown.
Yeah,
so it wouldn't be too much of a worry. It's just more, when you've got a horse like Brilliant that's danced the dance a lot, run battle hardened, has got out on gone on lead before, which we all know at the Rolly Mile, it's a real advantage if you can be prominent, as Shawari found out to her detriment last time. Being prominent is never a bad thing there. So yeah, I wouldn't knock Shawari on the ground. It's just whether she's going to be back, whether she really is up for it if the weather turns. So
Well, I think she'll handle the ground, but I think there are possibly others who will handle it a little bit better.
And it'll blunt her speed a bit.
Yeah, she's got so much natural pace. I just think it wouldn't be the most helpful thing in the world. And as you say, I can see a more stamina-laden filly beating her off, particularly over that mile trip. Jack, I don't know if you've got anything else to say on the Fillies Mile. I mean, we've covered most of it there, but what are your thoughts apart from Shuari, if you have any?
No, I think you've kind of covered all bases there. I think it's an interesting angle Joey's looking at. I just find it hard to hide my liking for this filly. I think she could be a real top notch, and I'm hoping she can kind of prove that. And hopefully the rain doesn't. It's not heavy rain, as you say. It could get a bit messy, but I just really like this filly. I think she's top class.
And sixes is a different ball game to 15 to 8. I mean, like, you know, if you're on the sixes you're suggesting last week, then obviously that's looking like a lovely bet, and we all agreed at the time. But just that, you know, just another thing on this filly, that, as I say, the up to the mile, I think will definitely be a good thing for Brilliant. And then caught you looking as well, being by Harzand. You know, this sort of the stamina side of things, a mile's going to be good for them. Glen Eagles, half sister alcohol free, Brilliant. You know, there's plenty of class in these two fillies. They're no useless back numbers. I think they've got a better chance than the market's giving them credit for at the minute. To reiterate that again, just felt like I had to go in there again there for no reason. On we go, Tom.
Well, no, I think you make a good argument. Very sound as well. Let's move on then, shall we? The other Group 1 of the weekend for the 2-year-olds is the Dewhurst over 7 furlongs, of course. City of Troy, very heavily odds on at the moment, around about 15 to 8 on, 2 to 1 on. Iberian for Tom Marquand, Charlie Hills. Tom Marquand's got a great couple of rides in both the Group 1s, hasn't he, with Shuari and Iberian. Then Ali Anabi for Jim Crowley and Owen Burrows. And then the likes of Array, Indian Run, Eben Shaddad further down. Henry Longfellow still entered, but he won't run unless something dramatic happens in terms of the ground, City of Troy being pulled out. So, Jack, come to you first. I guess a lot depends on the City of Troy that turns up. Will it be the same one? Will you improve? Justifies, we know, get better with age and get better with time passed. We haven't seen City of Troy for quite a while. So, you know, given what he's shown so far, are you expecting him to be extremely hard to beat?
I think so, yes. We mentioned him when he was set to run, obviously in his intended target last time. And I think I said then how close he was to Bucanero Fuerte. He wouldn't be anywhere close to him after, because I'm expecting a superstar performance. And I really was blown away by this performance last time at Newmarket. The way he's just kind of quick and clear, it was sensational, really. And I'm really hoping that we can kind of see something similar again. As Joey's mentioned as well, that the weather could scupper that. Would he run if it comes up really testing? Who knows? But as I say at the top of the show there, I'm expecting him to run. They kind of have to, otherwise they're playing a risky game waiting for Doncaster. And just look at this. It was a sensational performance. And these are good horses in behind that he's beaten here and absolutely hammering. Ryan Moore's already weighed in by the time the Lover lads cross the line there. Yeah, he's a really exciting horse. And this is what we need, isn't it? These superstars to keep us warm over the winter. And yeah, really, really excited for him this weekend and for next season.
Yeah, I mean, Aidan O'Brien has warmed the hearth for many of us over many winters in the past few years. And particularly, I think, this time, both with City of Troy, Joey, and with Henry Longfellow, you know, two of probably the two smartest 2-year-olds we've seen this season. They both come from his camp. We're set for a very exciting winter to look forward to the April Guineas meeting. And in terms of the race itself, Joey, Dewhurst, what are you kind of thinking about this race?
Oh, you just expect him to be different gear, and I don't want to bore everyone. It's just on the you know, obviously the Justify angle, the side of things. He's a huge horse for Coolmore. In terms of running on the ground, you hope he'd run. I mean, like, his Damn Together Forever won the Fillies Mile on soft ground. I mean, so you'd be disappointed. You know, you'd be disappointed to see him not running. I expect him to run. I expect him to be really exciting and win impressively, and that'd be fantastic because it'd be great to have another superstar. So and a real one, because at the moment he has the potential to be a real one. So yeah.
Yeah, he certainly does. I did want to mention briefly Ali Anabi's performance last time out. It was obviously not as strong a race as he's going to be contesting on Saturday in the Dewhurst, the Tattersall Stakes, where he beat Boiling Point to short head. Eben Shaddad, who could well reoppose 2 1/4 lengths back in third. But it wasn't really about the fact that he won. It was the manner of the victory, which you can see here. And he had no luck whatsoever in running, had to come from pretty much last place. And Jim Crowley had to wait for yonks to get a run. And in the end, he just about got one. And he flew home very impressively, showed a lovely turn of foot, and did that on the same course and distance he'll be facing on Saturday. Now, I wouldn't for a second pretend to proclaim that he's in the same gear or league as City of Troy. But at the same time, you couldn't help but be impressed by that. I mean, Jack, would you agree with that? It was visually pretty taking, I thought.
I think he got Jim out of a bit of trouble, to be honest. But we know that these hard luck stories can kind of happen at Newmarket. But he's obviously got immeasurable talent to be able to do that and get him out of a bit of a hole there. And look, fair play to Connections for coming in and supplementing, and I think he was supplemented and taking a chance here. Iberian sets a solid level of form as well, but City of Troy, I mean, he could just well be a superstar, couldn't he?
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement, aren't we? City of Troy is the one to beat in the Dewhurst. And very little to be added, I imagine. Let's move on then, shall we, to Saturday's big handicap, one of the big Premier handicaps of the season. It's the Cesarewitch, always a fantastic spectacle with so many runners going over that long 2-mile, 2-furlong trip and then finishing up the home straight on the Fillies Mile. As ever, very difficult to try and work it out. Plenty of horses coming in here from jumps trainers and a few Irish coming over as well to try their hand, as is always the case these days. Joey, it's always a brilliant spectacle, and this year looks at as competitive a renewal as ever.
Yeah, it certainly does. I think this is one of those races that really does turn a few people off, doesn't it? A lot of people really don't like having bets in this race. They find it quite difficult to get hold of. Jack, do you want to set up the race of what sort of thing we're looking for to win the Cesarewitch?
Yeah, so we were just discussing there before the show how we might start with the draw, and as we see here, you do want to be drawn low. They come into the bend pretty quickly, so it's all about this early position. You'll see horses there taking a pull to get over. I believe that could well be Vino Victrix in last year, but they're all kind of congregating there to get over to that far rail, aren't they? We'll just see the closing stages of that race. They do stick to that far rail. We know in the Cambridgeshire that they came over to the near side, but they do tend to stick over that far rail. A good low draw would be a preferred berth. In terms of having a bet at this stage, I would very much hold fire until you get your decks. If you're out in stall 33, 34, I know horses have ran really well, have even won from right out there in the car park. But yeah, it's so much of an advantage to get a low berth and find yourself in a good spot early to get on that bend and get in a good racing position.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Jack. Very interesting angle to look at there from the start of the race. You wouldn't necessarily think it over a 2-mile 2 contest, but it definitely does make a difference, doesn't it, to get that early position?
Absolutely, yeah.
Jack, then what about who you're kind of leaning towards at the moment for the race?
Well, I do have one standout. As I've mentioned, I've not quite pulled the trigger yet, but this race has actually been a real tale of woe for me over the years. De Rigueur got beaten by Big Easy. And then when Tritonic won it in 2015, I was part of the big gamble on the morning. I was a big fan of Oriental Fox for the longest time, and I think he was 25s, maybe 33 to 1s in a place on the morning. I thought, God, this is just a group bordering on Group 2, Group 1 horse. Fair enough, he's got top weight, but look, he's a class above. And yeah, Grametti at 50s just held on. I think Adam Beschizza rode him, didn't he? But so that maybe I'm being subconsciously biased, but Tritonic for the same connections. He just looks like a horse that's kind of being plotted for this. Perhaps connections are obviously quite romantic about having won it with Grametti, as mentioned. But look, Tritonic, I think probably as well, he would prefer a quicker surface. So if a lot of rain did come, that would temper enthusiasm. But if you go back to his form this season, it's pretty solid. He was a good third in the Ascot Stakes at Royal Ascot. He came back at Goodwood he left that well behind when he ran a Haydock over a mile 6 last time when he ran 4th. That track was probably a bit short for him over mile 6. Ross O'Ryan's going to take the ride again. He knows the horse well. And yeah, look, I just think he's around 25, 33s. As I say, wait till Dex. I don't think he'll be much shorter. He'll get 6 or 7 places with the connect concessions. And I just think he's a type of horse that looks a good makeup for this race, and he's a likely type to kind of run really well. And look, his flat form's not even that bad at all. As he's run countless good races around this mark. Around this time last year, we'll see he won at Goodwood. Let me just find the race. You've got Goshen, who finished the second here. He's shorter in the bet than him at the moment. But I just like Tritonic. He's a real terrier. I think the Newmarket track will really suit. As I mentioned, Haydock, it's quite a short bend at the top end. I know it's a long straight, but he's a type of horse that really grinds in it, and they get going a long way out in Newmarket, as we all know. And I think this test will just really suit him. And I think at a double figure price, he'd be around 20, 25 to 1 after Dex. Providing the ground comes up quicker, he's one I like. But 33 runners, I mean, how does he look in a race like this?
Yeah, absolutely. There's been some big price winners over the year of
sure.
the Handicap.
I think Goshen's quite interesting. Like, I toyed with him, I couldn't really fancy him. But like, yeah, I just kind of had to give my head a wobble halfway through the day, going, I can't be tipping Goshen, Jesus. But yeah. But I think he links into a couple of these, because like you've got a certain type of horse in this race. You know, the last few years, you know, the likes of Run for Oscar, this sort of real just blot on the handicap, basically coming in here and something winning. It doesn't matter where they're drawn. You know, they could be drawn on the high street and come running all the way around up Devil's Dyke and start like 5 minutes after the rest and still come through and win. You know, so this year I don't think there's one of those, and I definitely don't think Pied Piper deserves to be as short as he is in the betting. I think obviously he's a very nice horse, but I always tend to think that this sort of race, you need a horse that's kind of a staying hurdler, really, because it's properly eye-poppingly testing this trip. And so for me, I'm just not entirely sure that he's the right kind of horse for it myself. The Shunter, then again, is the one that we've seen a little bit of money for. Now, he's the sort of, you know, we don't know what we're going to get here. They fiddled around on the odd occasion on the flat with him. I think he's had about 5 starts on the flat. He's a little bit more of the type. I'm just not sure whether he's got quite the class to win it. I could see him placing. So out of those, this is where I was going to lead on to Goshen. I knew there was going to be a link to Goshen somewhere. The Goshen thing, Gary Moore's always thought about Goshen as being a sort of not being a boat, whereas I always think probably the race for him is more being a staying hurdler going over 3 miles. I think that race where we saw Tritonic just there, he is a big galloping thing, and I could see him running quite well in a Cesarewitch actually. But it does. The one I quite fancy was Vanquished old Tritonic. Well, I mean, you can't really say that because he was out. It just didn't really handle the ground. But is Temporize, and I really like Temporize. I think he's very, very solid in this. I think he's really, really improved for going to Sid Hosey. That's just evident. He's just improved so much. He has gone up £7 for this, but I thought this was really, really impressive. You know, this really marathon trip seems to suit him. He's a real proper Dewar galloper. And I mean, I think, you know, for the prices as well, if you want him to be chucking Robert Johnson in there as well, I mean, 50 to 1, he's had one bad run off the back of it. He's only a length or so behind him there, and he's better off at the weights with him now. So, you know, that would be the form line I'm looking at. I'd be on the same lines as Jack, and I'd be waiting for the draw, but Temporize is the central horse for me. I'd be looking for horses around him, and so that's Robert Johnson and Blasian Fire. Those are the two that extra ones I'll be looking at trying to play them, because I think they're all kind of progressive, they're all continuing to go in the right direction, and I think they're all healthy prices as well. And although this race has been won by a load of short price horses that just couldn't be beaten, really, I don't think that's this year. And in a lot of the other editions, there's 50 to 1 horses all over the gaff. So, you know, I think go with something at a price in this and you could be richly rewarded. So yeah, those would be the 3 on my shortlist at the moment, with Temporize being my leading player.
Excellent stuff. I'm not going to delve too deep into this race. The only one that I'm going to mention as a potential fancy of mine is Lot of Joy for William Mullins, and William Buick has been jocked up, which is quite a notable booking. I think this mare is just better on a quicker surface, on a sounder surface. Her runs this season have been mostly on either soft or heavy ground. And although you've got to look back a while, it's not too long ago that she finished 3rd, beating only a length in the Irish Cesarewitch. That was in the 2022 version. and that was off a mark of 93. She's £2 higher this time, but I think she's still more than well handicapped enough to play a hand at the finish. She's not been in terrific form this year, but I think that could be put down to the ground. It wouldn't be at all surprising to me if the quicker surface was going to suit her, but I wouldn't be massively confident. But that said, William Mullins, William Buick, 33-1. I could see her running a nice race each way for that. Jack, any final words on the Ces, or do you want to concentrate on fancies for the rest of the meeting?
Yeah, I suppose there is one other, and I think just at the top of this little segment, you mentioned it. You'd almost think it's a national hunt race. They've kind of dominated, having the last 8 of the last 10 renewals have gone to a national hunt trainer. Willie Mullins obviously won a few of them. But one trainer who's been amongst it and has won a few times is Mark Johnston. Of course, Charlie now is the main man there. And Your Kindness is just a filly that's it's really on the upward curve. She's definitely on the short list for me. She's a real improving in good form, and you know what it's like when you get a horse like that in good form. And yeah, I think she's interesting. I think she's around 40-1. So yeah, just keep an eye out for her. She'd definitely be one to have on the short list. I think she's in top form at present.
Excellent stuff. Joey, if you ordered on the Ces, any fancies for the rest of the meeting for you?
The rest of the meeting at Newmarket?
Yeah, or the weekend, whatever you fancy.
Well, I think I could segue in quite nicely into the fact that, you know, the other one, I had a short list for the Cesarewitch, and I had a short list of 4, essentially, three there, but there's Golden Shot is the other one for Sir Mark Prescott, and he's got a number of entries this weekend, and this horse really put up some time figure on his penultimate start at Foss Last. You know, really impressive. Blew the doors off that field and really went miles clear on heavy. Sir Mark did what he usually does and backed him up very quickly. And he ran a bit flat for me, and so I'd just probably chuck out that last run. But we've got soft ground coming back into the descriptions this weekend, and a load of decent staying handicaps for him to run in, one of which is the Cesarewitch. So we'll see which one of the 3. He's also potentially in one in Ireland as well. We'll see which one they look to go for. But because he's got a few entries, I couldn't really consider putting him up on the short list for people to consider backing, and really at this stage. But he's one wherever he goes. He could go to York as well. He's one I think that with a bit of soft ground, he's one that's just on the up and up, and he'll really be one I'll be backing, really. Obviously depending on, we'll see what the final fields are like and what price we're getting. But no, he's one I've really got on my short list, and I think Jack's also off to York for another one of his bets.
Well, my best bet of the weekend, we kind of breezed through your 2 on the top of the show with the Fillies Mile, didn't we? But yes, heading to York for my best bet. Now I'm really quite strong on this. This will kind of be where my weekend revolves around, and that's Urban Outlook in the 240 at York on Friday, the finale handicap. Now, this horse is a full brother to Urban Aspect, who was a horse I really liked prior to being sold to Hong Kong. I think he ended up rated around 120. He's a proper Group 1 horse over there now. And this Urban Outlook, again, as a 3-year-old, as his brother did, we're really starting to see the finished article. He had a little midsummer break then. Since he's come back, he's won 2 of his 3 starts, progressing from a mark of 78 and now rated 85. We're just going to look at him here last time out at Haydock, and this horse is absolutely dotted up here. You'll see him in the famous black and gold colours, just getting bumped around a little bit. Probably a lesser horse would kind of go back, being intimidated, but he's really reveling in this. You'll just see here there he clips heels as well. As I mentioned, a horse might shirk the challenge here, but in the end, he's always getting on top, and you'll just see him here. He pricks his ears at the line. This horse has got bundles left in the tank. Now, another little angle that I quite like here is David Probert. It's his only ride at York on Friday. He could well have rode Al Sakib in the valuable race at Newmarket as well. Oisin's obviously been called up to ride for his retained Qatar race, and so Probert would have definitely had the chance to ride Al Sakib, but no, he comes here to York for his one and only ride. And yeah, he's just a really outstanding bet for me. I think he's got a good bit in hand still. And at 5-1, I think he's an outstanding bet. There's 5 places, I think, with Sky Bet. But yeah, you get 4 or 5 places, 5-1. If you want to go a real muggy each way, I wouldn't put you off as well. And yeah, he's going to be a real strong win selection for me.
Go on, Joe. I thought you were going to say something there. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say something. I mean, like, I really like this horse. I mean, like, he got absolutely murdered there, didn't he? He nearly got knocked off his feet and shoved his way through. I mean, he wasn't just stopped. He literally had to just force his way through sheer willpower. You got to love his attitude. Fantastic attitude that horse showed to win that race. Really like him.
Yeah, no, agreed. It was it's good to watch that video back. Jack, I think you could probably convince an atheist to walk a pilgrimage.
Yeah.
Well,
some of the arguments you make are very sound, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I might have to back this one because I can't. You can't stand nickel collecting and you not collecting, can you? It's just savage stuff. Savage
Absolutely.
stuff. We've got to cover this off. I should just kick on and say that also at York on Saturday, a horse I really, really like is running as well, and that's Star Law. I thought he was really eye-catching in the Solario stakes opposite Sandown, where he quickened, and in the 5th and 6th furlongs of the race, he was fastest and made a really, kind of basically hit the front from a very, very poor position. Obviously over 7 furlongs, where he's been dropped back to 6 in the Rockingham at York on Saturday, and I think that's really, really going to suit him. He just all the time in his races looks like he's wanting to go faster, and I think with the likes of Purasangue in there, horses stepping up from 5 furlongs, he's going to get a nice gallop to run at. York being that flatter track that he can really travel. I think this is a really, really classy animal. And he was very close to being my best bet. And I don't want to say I did this with Trushan last time and ended up going for something else that I thought was better value, and he went and won. But I could see that happening again with this horse. I think, but he's a fairly strong fancy of mine. I was really, really happy to see him being dropped back down to 6 because I think it would really suit him. I'm not a massive fan of his attitude. He does look a little bit green, a little bit piggy. You don't want to hit the front too soon, but he does have a fair bit of class, and I could see a similar performance to another horse I like, and a similarities in him to a horse I really liked last year in Noble Style. Obviously, what happened to him, but I could see a similar sort of performance to what we saw from Noble Style from Star Law. I could see him really enjoying going that bit quicker, and we could see something quite good in the Rockingham at York on Saturday. So he's another bet for me.
Yeah, good stuff. Good to hear some fancies on the Knaves Mile for their final meeting of the campaign. I'm going to switch back to Newmarket. A couple of horses I want to point out. One of them comes in the Challenge Stakes on Friday. That Should Have Been a Ring, who, of course, we all know has performed to great credit in Group 1 company this season, particularly his last couple of starts. Only beaten a neck in the Sprint Cup at Haydock and then over 7 furlongs last time, beaten a length of 3/4 in the Foray, Prix de la Foray, of course, by a couple of good horses in front of him that day, including, of course, Kinross. Now, this is a Group 2, the Challenge Stakes. It's a smaller field. It's not as classy a race. Chindit and Audience likely to be the 2 biggest dangers, but on form he's shown in his last couple of starts for me, he's got them covered. I think Should Have Been a Ring needs a strong pace, but he should get that with Pogo and Chindit both in the race. Audience, of course, likes to go forward too, but Audience likes to race on his own. So it might not make so much of a difference there. But with Pogo and Chindit in the race, I expect a strong pace, and hopefully Should Have Been a Ring can pounce late, because I think the 7 furlong trip is what he needs. He's better over this, despite the fact he's got really strong form over 6. I think 7 furlongs is what he wants. And he deserves to get this Group 2 win in him, or he's Group 2 or Group 1, but this is a Group 2. He needs that victory on the board, I think. He's had 13 starts this season. He's had a really long campaign, but he's so durable, so versatile, and so resolute that I think he'll run his race again on Friday. There's no doubt about that. And I think if he brings his recent form to the table that he's been showing, he should be too good for these. And 7-2, I think, is a decent enough price about him. And the other one that I wanted to mention is in the Emirates Autumn Stakes. This comes on Saturday. And this is a horse called Per Contra, who, funnily enough, is also trained by Ollie Sangster, of course, trained Shawari. Now, this is a horse who's got a fair bit to find on official ratings at the moment, but we haven't seen very much of him. Only 2 starts thus far, both victorious, both extremely easy victories that came at both Chepstow and Foss Lass. So strange, really, profile. He's only raced in Wales thus far, as Per Contra. And now he takes on the boys at Newmarket in what was a pretty competitive Group 3 at entry stage. However, it's more the fact that he's created such a fantastic visual impression in his both starts so far. I love the way he travels. He's got his quirks. There's no doubt about that as well. He tends to drift, and he looks a little bit unruly at times, but there's no doubt he's got serious ability, I think. And I can't wait to see how he tackles hotter company and a stronger pace, which I think he'll suit him really well. And indeed, the mile trip for the first time. He's got plenty of stamina over 7.5 furlongs, so that should be no bother at all. And James Doyle has been booked to ride, which is a big plus for me. So yeah, keep an eye out for Per Contra in that autumn stakes on Saturday. That's the first race on the card.
We're certainly going to lose a gold star with the sponsors today, Tom, because I mean you're tipping up a Midland Park horse to win a group race, and I've tipped up a Juddmonte horse to beat Opulence's horse in a listed race at York. So yeah, we're definitely getting our sponsorship halved for next year, I think. Yeah,
and I've just given a big old mention to the Emirates in the autumn stakes too. So. Yeah, I have to keep that down on the low next time. Cool, guys. And that pretty much brings us to the end of the show. Unless there's anything to add from you guys about other fancies, but I think we pretty much covered it all. Lots to look forward to with this fantastic weekend of racing. I gave it the big one about Newmarket at the top of the show, but of course, now that Jack and Joey have given such sound arguments, plenty to look forward to with York as well. So a big weekend in store. And yeah, I hope you all enjoy it. Hope you all subscribe and like to our video as well, and comment underneath with your best fancy. And remember, please do gamble responsibly. At the end of the day, gambling is supposed to be fun. And when the fun stops, please do stop. From all of us here at Flat Out for this week, it's a very warm goodbye.